Earl K. Long called himself the last of the red-hot papas. He was a political wizard, a poor man's philosopher.
They called him last night at Antoine's. I don't know how to get in Antoine's or out either. I was let in there once in my life and let out. They didn't have a thing on the bill of fare that I could read. If you've ever been there, you know that's true. Kazamir, Sama Sa, Polly Pop in the pot, or in the bag. And it cost about $18. I can go to the cafeteria and eat for 6 bits or 90 cents. That's how I got fat. Up here during the last term of Governor Kennan, I got fat as to Piccadilly. Now you tell that man to send me a ham. Old Piccadilly. The only reason I say that is just to let you know that I'm just an old ordinary gazebo. I don't belong to the Boston Club. You could look at me and tell that, couldn't you? Couldn't you? Well, there's 2 reasons. They don't want me, I don't want them.
I often say in my speeches I'm the best friend the poor white man or the colored man ever had in the governor's office. I really believe I'm telling the truth. Maybe my brother Huey would have been equally as good, but he didn't have as long as I've had. All in all, if the laboring men are right, I'm with them. But if they're wrong, I'm against them. And I put laboring people in jail by the dozens when I thought they were out of line.
In all your years in politics, what do you feel your single greatest achievement was in the way of helping the people of the state, whether it be the old age pension?
And I'd say the next single achievement of mine was to give the hot lunch program. We have the finest hot lunch program in Louisiana in the nation. And I'd say the third was our good road system in this state. Well, kind of like the old saying, do right and fear no man, don't right and fear no woman. And I can tell you that I never took a crooked dollar in my life. A man can give you up to $3,000, you know, and don't even have to report it. Or don't have to account for it. But as far as getting any money out of the state, or any rake-offs, any shakedowns, or kickbacks, there's nothing like that existed. And I can sleep too. That government investigation hasn't caused me one minute's unrest. I've been accused of this, that, and the other, and I've been investigated. I was investigated one time from 39 to 52, and I'm being investigated now. It's all going to be nil. And my enemies are thick and plentiful, and they just imagine that I'm crooked like most people you dislike. You just think there's something terrible wrong with them. But really and truly, I'd rather have the respect of the people and know that I really done them some good than to be a rich man. And I'm going down there trying to get a little kush. Kush to it, you know. You know what kush is?
I think I do.
If you know if anybody's got more than they need, well, send them to Uncle Earl, because I can sure use them.
Before I'd sell out the people of this state, before I'd make them poor old colored people an issue, and have people hiding them and fighting them and burning their houses down, I would sacrifice being president of the United States, vice president, or United States senator.
And really and truly, I don't think that, like we got a fellow named Rainak here, tried to make the colored question an issue. I don't think it should have been an issue.
You take the other day, the Citizens Council, the Southern gentlemen, called all night long. They harass people in every part of this state. Send old sapsucker a telegram. Wire him, call him. Tell him the woods are on fire. Oh, it's awful. The nigger's fixing to take over. You never heard of such a claptrap or such tactics in your life.
But I've always been able to get along with colored people. And if you show colored people you're a friend, you're in a position to talk to them, whereas you just pull the red flag and you shut all the gates. There's no question for the time being that the only thing for the South is segregation.
What we need is a 4-lane highway for drunken drivers, nuts, overloaded trucks, and come what may. Then we ought to have another road for home lovers, children, good people, business people, poor folks, rich folks, and people in all lines of endeavor who don't load up on John Barleycorn before they start out on a trip. Oh, yeah.
You know, they say the Bible says, as long as the light holds out to burn, the vilest sinner can still return. And another thing, the truth will finally prevail. You know that old saying, the truth crushed earth shall and will and must rise again, and I believe it will. And I don't think that even though you don't win every battle, I think that the main thing is, what do they say, when that great score comes to write against your name, it's not going to write whether you won or lost, but how you played the game, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I'd rather have the respect of the people and feel kind towards me than be the richest man in this state.
How about this philosophy that Huey had of every man a king? Did you go
Well, I
along
think he meant that. Yeah, what he meant by that was that every man would have a right to live and have something to wear and have 2 shirts instead of 1 and stuff like that. And that was during the Depression. And what he meant like that every man could have a home and have a family and have a job and have something to fall back on. Not necessarily a king, but maybe close to a king.
A staunch Democrat, Uncle Earl had his own ideas and expressed them freely to a political crony or to a president. He told Harry, "Kennedy's a fine boy, but he looks more like a boy."
I think the Democratic platform is just as good as the Republican, probably better. And I think the only thing that we've ever gotten in Louisiana or anywhere else was under the Democratic Party. The Republican Party is a party of wealth and greed and selfishness, and the Democrats are the party of the people.
How about that civil rights flag in the Democratic?
Well, I think it's about the same. Republicans try to water it down, but they do just as bad. Look at Eisenhower in Little Rock. Well, I'm not against the colored people. I think most colored people would be tickled to death to have good schools, good churches, and be left alone and have some old age pensions, some hot lunches, and be treated right.
Do you expect to see Harry Truman?
Well, I'm trying to, and I don't know where he is.
You haven't been in touch with him then?
Well, I've tried to get in touch with him, and I haven't located him yet. All I wanted to discuss with him was the presidential setup. I think that Simonton and Kennedy would be a wonderful combination.
Kennedy for vice president.
Yeah, Kennedy's a fine boy, but he looks more like a boy than he is. And I'm very, very anxious to help the Democrats win. And I don't expect anything out of it except the general good to the most people in the United States. I think Johnson's too far south. And I think that heart attack that he had, which was worse than mine, would tell on him with 4 years in the president's chair. Because I would imagine the president's job with all this foreign stuff is about 48 times worse than the governor's job, wouldn't you?
But to Earl Long, the governor's job was better than buttermilk. Although he said anyone who'd want to be governor should have his head examined, he kept on running, but not without opposition. There was Big Bad Bill, Willie, and Della Soups, and in earlier days, Sam Jones. There was a time when old
Sam Jones said his life had been threatened. He had been dogged, and he'd been this, that, and the other. So I got a hold of Colonel Roy, whoever headed the police at that time. I said, give old Jones an escort day and night. And but darned, in the second primary, he got on a snowy, slicky bridge up at Ellick. The car turned around about 3 times and almost killed old Sam. They took him to Dr. Merle's clinic. I quit the campaign to go up and see if they doctored to him. Because I knew if he died, they might put a good man in there and beat us both. You watch the indicator. You want to win some easy money? Bet on Earl and don't bet on them horses.
I told Spate the way to win was for me to run for lieutenant governor with him, and he didn't want it that way, so I gave it to him like he wanted, and we got someone else. Got a very fine fella named McKithen. I done everything I could for Judge Spade, and I thought he was a very fine man. And I still think so, but he's been against me ever since. I think he's mad because he didn't get elected. The fact is, I spent my own money. You know, when you get in the second primary and all of them turn against you, sometimes it's hard to raise money. And I spent money for Spade that I should have kept for Earl.
I'm more up to date, more modern, more peppy, more snappy. Even though Bill Dodd says my socks are dragging the ground. You wait till December, you see whose socks are dragging. I've been on 2 tickets with Will Big Bill Bad Bill. He got sick and went to bed and took a run-out powder 2 or 3 times. And old Earl just kept going on. I don't know how it done, like the Mississippi River, just on and on and on. Now, Mr. Dodd, fine man. Every time he's been elected on old Earl's coattail. He says my coattail's getting weak, he's gonna try his own. Now let's see how he makes out. If he wins, let's lay them both. You know how much chance Willie Rainak's got to be governor? Just about as much as a nit flying out of torment. Just about. If he gets in the second primary, it'd be like the grasshopper who lived all the summer to die for the first frost. Oh, how I'd like to have him. I said I wanted Delisep. I'd 2-to-1 rather have Willie. Rainak ain't going to New Orleans. He may think he is, but he's going to get a call. Hello, Willie. This is old Delisep. Now listen, old boy. Politics is one thing and that other business is another. In the second primary, you're going to need some votes. I can hand them to you. I go swimming with them. I ride up and around town with them. I dine with them. I shine with them. I've got a Baptist preacher that don't preach nothing but Morrison. I wish that everybody in this state could be governor for 10 days. Chances are Willie wouldn't run. Chances are Marshall Brown wouldn't run. Of course, Dottie knows all about it, and Davis knows all about it. Why in the world Davis wants to get back in there, God only knows. He stayed in bed about 2/3 of the time when he was in there before. Every time they had a strike, every time they had trouble, when they was breaking up that stuff in Shreveport, you know that, Johnny Rogers. Come up and tell the truth. When they poured out strawberries and spilled milk, you couldn't find Davis to save your life. The Bible says there's not a man in the world as blind as a man that don't want to see. And neither is a man as deaf as one that wants to be deaf. You couldn't wake him up with an earthquake. No.
The long legend began in the red clay hills of Louisiana's Wynn Parish. Brother Huey was always into something, and Mother was a rock-ribbed Baptist.
My mother was a rock-ribbed Baptist, but she was very, very tolerant and very kind to all religions. When I was a child, we had 6 Catholics that boarded our house. My mother used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to prepare breakfast so those Catholics could get in a surrey and go about 20 miles to church. And I've heard a lot of those people say that they had never known a woman that was as tolerant as my mother. And I think that we were more or less brought up that way. And I think most people are tolerant, but for some of them have never intermingled with Catholics and other people, and they may be a little narrow-minded. But if it wasn't for the Catholics, I wouldn't be a lawyer. I went to Loyola University, so I'm a Baptist, but the Catholic fathers gave me a free scholarship, and I've always felt very kindly towards them. And my recent secretary was a Jewess, and I've had 2 secretaries who were Jewish. So really and truly, religion, creed, or color doesn't make any difference with me. Some of my best friends are colored people.
When you were a young boy back on that farm in Winfield, did you ever dream of becoming governor, entering politics?
Never.
What were your dreams then? What did you want to be?
I thought then it would be a great thing to shake hands with the governor. And I remember Huey one time was helping a brick mason build a hotel they called the City Hotel in Winfield. He laid down his mortar to go see J.Y. He had J.Y. Sanders speak. I remember that just same as it yesterday.
What kind of a kid was Huey?
Well, Huey was nervous and very anxious to know what everything was about. My father said when Huey was a kid, they couldn't hardly keep him from jumping in the well. They had to cover it up, keep him getting in there. And that he was, fellow just wouldn't be still. He was nervous and always into something. We never saw a train till we were 6 years of age. Huey and I saw a train the same day. He was about 8 and I was 6. And I remember Huey crawled up under it and they had to wait till they get him out before they could start the train up. And we were boys together, and I guess that Huey and myself were closer than any other one of the family was to him, being more or less the same age.
Did you and Huey like the same things? You always liked to retire to your pea patch farm?
Well, no, he wasn't that way. But I think he liked to be in the thick of it. And I think maybe a little bit too much that way. And I think Huey had more nerve than I did. Left alone, I'm more or less a retiring man. and a little timid, but Huey wasn't.
Where were you the day that Huey
I
was
was
killed?
in Winfield.
And
Shot in Baton Rouge, and I immediately went to Baton Rouge, and I visited the hospital, but he died the next day. My brother had told me that day and before they was not going to have that extra session. I warned him that things were a little bit too hot and too tense, and I thought it was a bad time to have an extra session. And some people got in and prevailed on him to have it, and of course they thought they were his friends, but they were really giving him bad advice.
Governor, did anyone dream that a thing like that might happen at that time?
No, I never thought of anything like that.
His life had never been threatened or anything?
Well, yes, he'd been threatened. And it worried him, but it don't worry me. I never carried a bodyguard. I'm my own guard. Don't have a pistol. Don't have a bottle of whiskey, much to the regret of a lot of people. I go anywhere I want to, and I think that, I think he made a mistake having those guards. However, when they took me to the asylum, it looked like I should have had it. But I think that, you give people an idea of agitate stuff like that. I hate to say this, but I think that physically I'm maybe a little more fearless than he was.
Mm-hmm.
However, as far as moral courage, and when he got a conviction, getting up and expressing himself, he never backed up.
You think Huey would have been president had he lived?
Well, I don't know, but he'd had a lot to do with who was president.
Earl Long had many friends among the reporters who covered the Capitol, but he engaged in a continuous battle with the New Orleans Times-Picayune and any other newspaper that didn't agree with him.
Since I left Louisiana, I have more or less improved, except those newspapers were harassing me so much. And I asked those newspaper people to wait about an hour or two till I refreshed up. I thought they all acquiesced or agreed, but I hadn't sat down good. So here they come. They wanted the picture, and they wanted this, and they wanted that. So I got up and told them, I said, now I gave you fellas a field day. I said, now I want you fellas to ask me anything you want to ask. It's decent. Take all the pictures you want, and leave old Uncle Earl alone for the rest of the night. Now, that's all there was to it. And when you read the headlines of the paper the next day, you just thought I was an outlaw. Fortunate, in Baton Rouge, the Advocate and Times treat me fairly good. The Picayune won't print nothing. That Alexander Town Talk won't print nothing. And what they do print, they mess it up so you can't understand what it says, except Earl Long is a hell of a fella.
They got it in their mind I'm kind of a second story man. At least they make out like that. Now, when they hold up a fellow's caught with a wool between his teeth, I just can't understand it. But I'd much rather have the Picayune for me than have them against me. So when you got them against you, just like a dog with his tail between his legs in the corner, you got to snap back. Isn't that right? Well, it said that the time Picayune man fell in the ditch, and a fella came along and had a hog in there. Said you could judge a man by the company he keep, and the hog got up and left.
Earl Long loved life, and he knew how to live it, whether in the backwoods or the bright lights of a border town.
I was wondering if you'd tell me about...
Oh, we got set down in that restaurant. I guess it's about the nicest place over there. They have music. Here they come. We want a picture. We want a statement. We want this. And three of them I recognize as being the same gang who's up here.
The ones that you'd already talked to.
Yeah. So I just exploded. I said, ain't there no freedom nowhere, Mexico or United States or nothing? I'm not going to give you any picture. Now you get out here and leave me alone. I told you I'd give you an interview tomorrow, and nothing Sunday afternoon before I left. I just not going to put up with it. Hello?
Hello, I'm listening, Governor.
And kept on, because I just carrying on. I said, if you go get my pistol, I didn't even have no damn pistol. There wasn't a lick hit. There wasn't a push or a shove or nothing that I know anything about. And I just got up, paid the bill, $57, left my champagne, my quail, my chicken, or whatever it was, went out and got my car and drove off. Hello.
Hello, Governor.
That's all there was to it. Came back to El Paso, ate me some more supper, a little bit. Upset like that, you don't eat much. Drank mostly milk. We didn't have anything to do, and about an hour later, we drove over there and drove up and down, saw the bright lights, and the dark lights, and people all over the streets, selling midnight's their best season over there. It's just a sea of people. Came on back home, went to bed. You understand?
I understand.
All I wanted, sometimes you can't sleep, Didn't create no disturbance of nothing of the kind. And listen to me. For one time in your life, you believe me. All of that route, and if there was any, it was participated by those won't quit newspaper people. Hello?
Hello, Governor.
Going out of the hotel, they grabbed me again. They jumped on Jim McLean. And what's that other boy, Bryce Miller?
Bryce
You see
Miller.
that? Well, I said, hell, I know them boys. They're my friends. They come in and eat with me. I said, hell, I'm glad to see an old friend. They're not asking me no used questions. You understand?
I understand.
Well, I said, now go on and leave me alone. Well, damn if we didn't go across the Juarez. We had a reception for a quail supper. They sell nice quail over there. And that's kind of unusual. And I kind of can't find anything to eat. I ate one. I was going to eat one. I didn't eat nothing. All I drank was one glass of $2 champagne. They got champagne over there for $2 a quart. You ever heard of that? Well, I think it's about 2.5 frozen, but you can buy it in those stores there for $2. Hello?
Hello, Governor.
I bought 2 or 3 quarts. Hello?
Hello, I'm listening.
I'm not a goody-goody, and I'm a church man, too. Hello?
I know. I'm listening, Governor.
I'll clean this outfit out, because I just kind of bellyaching around. I never shot a pistol 3 times in my life. Never carried one 3 hours in my life. Hello?
Hello.
Well, it looked like they wasn't going to leave. So I told some of these fellows, these police, we had about 3, get them out of there. Well, they said they had them out. Put up a curtain. I looked up the transom, and there's one of them bastards about to crawl through it. Understand? I started to throw that champagne bottle at him. Hello?
Hello, Governor.
I don't give a damn if you putting it on there.
Well, I'm not going to use that
You
portion.
can use it if you want to.
Well,
The truth's the truth.
not unless you want me to, Governor.
Go ahead, I want you to. But anything I said, you can record it, you can put it in the paper. I've got one language, and that's the truth.
Is there any portion of this you would like?
No, just go ahead.
All right, sir.
I don't think I cussed.
All right.
When you get worked up, it's kind of hard to not say a bad word.
Uh-huh.
A cousin of mine joined the church and lost all of his vocabulary. Couldn't even say nothing. Hello?
Hello, Governor. I'm listening.
You heard about that?
Uh-huh.
Well, good luck.
Well, thank you very much, Governor.
Thank you for
I hope
calling.
You
Thank you
have
for
a good
calling.
rest.
Though many accused Governor Long of shattering the dignity of his office, none could deny that he respected the dignity of the common man. He was an earthy man who loved the earth, particularly a plot of ground in Winfield he called his pea patch farm.
I used to call it the Billy Goat Range. But just, just a small place where you raise a garden and maybe a little corn and stuff, and really not on a large scale. But I have a few cattle, have a few goats, a few sheep, a few ducks, a few guineas, a few chickens. It's a small house, and I'm thinking to add to it. You know who lived in that house before I moved in there?
No, sir, I don't.
Colored people.
Is that right?
That's right. I ran a colored family out there to move in. Good old friend of mine named Woodson Johnson.
And he let you have it, huh?
Well, he had to. It's mine.
Governor, I wonder if you would tell us what your daily diet is these days. You still drink plenty of buttermilk?
Yeah. But I eat almost anything. I like vegetables. I like steak. I like cheese and crackers. I like sardines.
Watermelon?
Watermelon. That watermelon's good for you.
You raise a lot of
I had
watermelon.
the finest crop watermelon this year I've had. Well, I had a party here for the colored and one for the whites out of my own watermelons. Had about 80, gave them about 40 apiece. I used up 80 watermelons. And I raised quite a few peas this year, too. A lot of okra. Had a 2-acre tomato crop, and I got about a 3-acre sweet potato crop now, the best in the States. I expect that outside the river planters, that I raised more stuff on my pea patch in Winfield this year than almost any man in Wind Parish. If you want to know about one of my sports, I like to hunt hogs. I got a lot of wild hogs.
Like to hunt them?
Yeah, I like to hunt them. Deer hunting, you may not get any, but when I go hog hunting, I usually bring home the bacon.
New Orleans Mayor Morrison was always a thorn in Earl Long's political side, but when General Charles de Gaulle, France's man of destiny, met Louisiana's man of the people, Morrison buried the thorn deeper.
Morrison just kept telling me about make it short, make it short, make it short.
I remember.
Well, I really want to say more because I'm a great admirer of Dinner to Go, but Morrison wouldn't let me. He told me to hold my speech to 5 minutes, and I gave him 2 of it back. I was going to tell about 50 million Frenchmen can't be wrong, and we had 2 million in Louisiana. But Morrison, you know, he had me at the end of the table. I never did complain. I was at the tail end of that table. You know that?
I was right next to you.
All right, he was at the middle. Now, I was invited down there to ride with Dinner to Go. I'm the governor of the state. Who you think should have rode with me or that little 2-bit mare? And when I got in that car, they said it was crowded, and they had 4 in the front seat and 2 in the back seat. I just took my tail and went on. I didn't make any ruckus or anything else because I was really and truly an admirer of de Gaulle. I expect a lot more so than that little 2-bit Morrison. But I just took all those insults and made it like they weren't insults. I wish you could see the letter I got from de Gaulle.
Oh, is that right?
He was tickled to death with what I said. And he was surprised that I knew as much about him. I'd kept up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think de Gaulle's intentions are very, very good.
Nobody ever got the best of Earl in a name-calling contest. Here are 100 reasons why.
He hadn't got enough sense to get out of the rain. He's in every skin game he can get in. And he's bald-headed.
He's guilty. He is as guilty as a man ever was. And he's got 2 college degrees.
There's no question but what that man is, a confirmed alcoholic. He's a wife beater. He's been shooting his wife. He has diabetes.
He'd like to be a lone wolf, you know, be a great Socrates. Well, you just can't do that. He's a spoiled brat. His father's a fine man. Mother's a good woman. He talks to his father about like you'd talk to a bootblack. A good beating to do him more good than anything in this world. He really needs one.
Because I know he's a flying dude.
Well, he's just a fly-by-night. He's the biggest shyster God ever let live. He practically endorsed me the night of the election. Practically endorsed me the night of the election. Practically endorsed me the night of the election.
You think he has aspirations to be governor someday?
He couldn't be dog catcher. He's his end. About the only thing he can do now is grow him a mustache. He had one, I made him cut it off.
What? How many votes did he get? 125. And he's going to carry the parish now for devil soups. Oh, yeah. There's a lot more ways to kill a cat than stuffing him full of butter. Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, he's going to jail.
They are kind of disgusted with his humbug. They found out that he's too big a liar. You know, sometimes you want a reasonable liar that can make it stick. But if you tell him too big, well...
Excuse me, but his secretary won a bathing beauty contest. And I understand she's pretty swanky looking, and she sits in his front office. I like life. That striptease you talking about, I got her brother out of the penitentiary and got her out of the jug. She was, charged with indecent exposure. He's one of the best, most modern fakers I've met lately. But he's met his match when he met Uncle Earl. I can give it and take it. He said the other day I called him a yellow-bellied. I never called him yellow nothing. I said he had a face like a cat, a mouth like a catfish. He could talk out of both sides and whistle and lie all at the same time, and I can prove that. But I didn't say anything about him being yellow-bellied. He said that my brother called me kangaroo. First time I was ever called kangaroo I know anything about was in the campaign of 56. A fellow named Gravenberg labeled me kangaroo long.
And I want to say this personally, I like you. You're a gentleman. You're intelligent. I never knew a more likable boy. Has a nice wife, nice family. He's just as smooth as a peeled onion. You know, I believe you're honest. Something else wrong with you. I don't know what the devil it is. I think he's got a thin skin. He can give it, but he can't take it. I think he's honest. If he ever committed a corrupt act or done anything dishonest, I never heard of it. You don't think he'd say that for me, do you? No. Oh, yeah. And you know, when you get hot, it's when the truth hits your head. I watched you. There ain't a bigger hypocrite ever lived than you. Old selfish, redneck, crooked, no good Earl. Did I cuss myself enough? I knew you were a high flipper. I knew you were a hard draw. I knew you thought that you smelled sweet, and when I found out, it's too late to do a damn thing about it. Next time you keep your mouth shut. It pays to have a man in the governor's office that knows a little something. I was a governor this time from scratch. And whether you like the way I scratch or not, I have done my dead level best.
The most explosive episode in Long's turbulent career occurred during his final year as governor. Even in recalling his darkest hours, he retained his sense of humor.
Well, I got up there and I took a cold ice towel and wiped off my face and neck and head and had a good drink of ice water and maybe a little highball. Hello.
All right.
So I said, no thing to do is to clean this thing up and get a lot of chairs for the old ones and sometimes women reporters and those that desire to sit. So we worked about 15, 20 minutes, got everything pretty tidy. I said, just tell them all to come in. The only thing I request is don't put those lights down here at my head or over my eyes because I'm almost blind anyway. Been laying off to go to an eye doctor for 6 months. Understand? But all the mess I've been in, you can't go to nothing except jail. Understand?
I understand.
Get out of one, you're in another. Hello.
I'm listening, Governor.
I just want people to hear my story someday when I'm rested up. I don't give a damn if they're political enemies, they'll be sorry for me. I'll keep enough guards to keep them from taking me the next time. I used to wonder why Huey carried all that bunch of bodyguards, and I thought maybe it might have invited his death. I never took a bodyguard nowhere. But don't you doubt what I'm taking some now. You understand?
I understand.
They got pistols a foot long, blackjacked, and all modern war equipment. Hello.
I'm listening, Governor.
As long as I hold public office, if I have to pay for it myself, I'll never be hard. Mentally, hell, I wish I'd stay as good as I am now all the rest of my life. You understand?
I understand.
Well, they said I was nuts. If I was nutty then, I'm nutty now. I was just tired and worn out and needed a little rest, no question about that. And some of my old anxious friends sent me to a place that was a mental outfit over in Galveston, which was a great mistake.
Now, you don't want me to brag, huh?
Well, no, but go right ahead.
Well, those guards over at Mandeville, I had 16.
16?
Oh, enough to break the state. I wasn't there 40 minutes till he had 4 strong-armed men throw me on that bed and me begging him not to stick that needle in me. Instead of sticking in the soft part, he stuck it in the bony part. I propose to correct that institution and have it as the finest of its kind in the South if I can. The Celia hookup in Galveston, as far ahead of that hookup as you can throw a rock. You know, as I started out to tell you, psychiatrists is just more or less guesswork, more or less self-anointed. Sometimes some of them are crazier than the man they're examining. Do you know that? After they stay in that business, it's not unusual that they lose practically all of their equilibrium. And it uses large words that you couldn't understand unless you had a dictionary right there with you. And there's some of those words not even in the dictionary. Because I tried to look them up. You'd probably have to have an encyclopedia, what you call that? Britannica, to get them.
Earl Long's last campaign was for Congress, running against 8th District Congressman Harold McSween.
We've had top congressmen in this district until McSween accident. Beating to do him more good than anything on earth. I think it'll help his wife, and help his father, and help his mother, and help everybody. And I think you just let him throw that something don't grow on trees. You just can't reach up and get it. Because he's a hothouse plant. He's born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and you couldn't get it out with a crowbar. Had a rich father and a rich mother, and it's just impossible for him to place himself in the shoes of an ordinary man.
Who are you going to vote for in the election?
I'm going to vote for Earl K. Long.
Earl K. Long?
Earl Long? Yes, Earl's okay. Earl can't be beat for honesty nowadays.
All of those is good to my notion.
Long won that race, but died a few days later.
Well, if Earl Long would have went to Congress, it'd have been a change made. That'd have been for sure. He wouldn't let it run like it's running.
Well, I don't know of anything I could tell you. It might seem like I'm bragging. That I really am thankful to the Lord that I had the struggles that I did coming up, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I think I can appreciate the other man's position, the why poor people come up under, and I think that I could do more for them because, after all, experience is the greatest teacher there is. And it's things that you acquire through age and maturity that you just can't gain them any other way.
Well, I've talked long enough. Thank you very much. And I've enjoyed this just as much as you have. Maybe some of you didn't enjoy it. Well, that's just like love. It don't always run straight at the same time. Everybody loved old Sal. There wouldn't have been enough Sal's to go around.